I'm going to talk about my understanding of the philosophical concept, the game. This is a concept that is not new. It has been looked at and experienced and viewed by, I'm sure, many, many different people under many different names for as long as philosophy has existed. Many different people have their own understanding of the game. I'm going to try and give my true, unbiased, honest opinion. But let it be known that it is impossible for my opinion to be unbiased, seeing as I am an individual. I'll say this, it is December 26th, 2023 at 5:59 a.m. at the start of this recording. My name is Theodore Pierce Richard, and yeah, let's get into it. So, I met a friend in middle school named Eli, and Eli was a pretty shy kid. He played a lot of sports, and I wasn't so much of a sport head myself, but I ended up running track with him. We got to be pretty good friends. We experienced some embarrassing things together, and that kind of brought us even closer. Growing up and kind of coming of age through those awkward teen years, we now still have a very strong friendship. And I gauge friendship off of who I would call if I was in a sticky situation. Who can I trust to help me? I know that I would do almost anything for Eli, and I believe that he would do the same for me. We've been through not too much difficult things together, but our bond is extremely strong. So around October, freshman year of college, I was around 18, 19, I think. 18. And Eli and his adopted brother, Javante, invited me to Eli's parents' house to hang out. They were out of town. Now, Eli is not a drinker. I was, in that freshman college phase of drinking. But Jay is not either. Me and Jay both smoked marijuana at the time, I believe, but no intoxication happened on this night. I want to make that perfectly clear. We were all dead sober. And Eli and Jay, for some background, had been good friends throughout high school through basketball, as far as I can remember. And Jay's family had some troubles. Eli's family had the ability to take him in and care for him. And they became amazing friends. They lived together. They are like brothers to this day. But at this time, Jay had gotten back in town from something, to my recollection, and he and Eli were just kind of hanging out at Eli's parents' house. So I showed up, and we started hanging out. I think we played some video games. And as the night went on, I think we may have watched a movie or something, but we really kind of started talking. And then all of a sudden around 1 a.m., something happened. Something changed. The mood changed. And I felt left out. I wasn't sure what it was, but it seemed like Eli and Jane knew something that I didn't know. And I was curious and a little bit angry because I didn't understand what was happening. Now, Eli and Jay being good friends was one thing, but I had known Eli for maybe even longer than Jay had, and we've been friends for a good amount of time. So it was shocking that I felt like the odd one out. Now, I tried to kind of gauge what was going on, and I couldn't bring myself to figure out what was happening. They had kind of gone quiet with a mixture of short sentences followed by either laughter or a serious tone. And it seemed as if they were almost playing a word game, maybe riffing off of each other, if you will, or punning. I was not in the loop, and I didn't understand what was happening. And then they began to explain very shoddily and with great difficulty what they were doing and what they knew that I was blissfully unaware of. They explained to me the philosophy of the game. I'll say the game each time. Please picture it in quotation marks. I do not believe it to be an important philosophy. I do not believe it to be a good philosophy. I believe it to be a philosophy, or more realistically, an idea. But they explained to me that there is an existence that everyone lives, and people experience reality. People experience reality differently, but they all experience reality. Except for mentally ill people. Some of them have altered perceptions of reality, but nevertheless, a perception. And that reality can be equated to a personal game. The idea of a game being there is a goal and there are players. And for each person, the game is different. That game can have different goals, and it can have different meanings, and it can have different levels or varying levels of importance to the player. But there is always a player, the being, the individual, and there is always a game. Whether it be that individual's wants, needs, desires, goals, progress. That is the fundamental basics of the game. Now, some of you may have heard of a different game. It is a schoolyard joke almost, where and it's a paradoxical thing almost. The only way to not lose the game, this is a different game I'm talking about. We'll call this the game 2. The only way to not lose the game 2 is to not think of the game, and therefore it is impossible to not lose the game 2 unless you have not learned about the game. If you think about the game too, or learn about the game too, or say anything related to about the game too, then you have lost the game too. And you have to announce, oh, I lost the game too. Funnily enough, that same idea goes hand in hand with the philosophy of the game as I know it. There are two altering perspectives of the game for an individual. There are probably many more, but the two that I know of are as follows. You can be in the game or out of the game. In the game means you are not thinking of the philosophy or the idea or anything related to the game. And when you are out of the game, it means you are thinking about the game. It sounds funny to repeat the game so much, but it is almost necessary to really hammer it into your head. Now, this I found extremely funny because typically some people say, oh, you seem out of it. And I now take that saying as, oh, you seem out of the game, as in you're thinking about your life, your game right now, and you're not experiencing reality as it is present and, without, no, sorry, you don't know. My apologies. You are not experiencing reality presently. You are thinking about individual external factors of your game. I'm going to pause real quick. In any case, this was not described to me in such a clear-cut way as I am describing it to you. This was described to me through a series of wordplay exercises, questions asked of me, and answers that I had to come up with on my own. And in fact, I did not fully realize the concept that they were discussing until about a month after our interactions together. I remember it very clearly. I was standing in the shower, and all of a sudden something just clicked, and I understood. That's what they were talking about. I understand now. For some people, I've explained it, and it's clicked immediately. For other people, they still don't understand. It is a different experience for everyone. And my best metaphor or analogy that I can give is that for this specific philosophical idea is that a dog plays the game the best. A dog does not realize there is a game, and therefore he's winning. In the sense of the schoolyard joke, every time you are out of the game, you are losing because you cannot make progress if you don't play. When you are in the game, you are working towards your goals, your wants, your desires, whatever those may be. They are individual to each and every person, but they are part of your game. And I think that that's an important thing to realize, is that it's not the game. The game is an idea. When it boils down to an individual, it is their game. It is your game. It is my game. It is Eli's game, and it's Javante's game. Now, Javante decided to delve into this matter. He started writing notes. He started making sequences. And he has, in his family, a medical history with schizophrenia. And Javante, as we know him, started slipping away. He did not stop thinking about the game, and therefore was completely pulled out of it. He wanted to find an answer. He wanted to find a reason why you play. And he lost himself. He began scaring us, threatening us, and we became worried that he might hurt himself or others. He went to the hospital and was arrested a few times. And each time I talked with him, his mood had varied. Sometimes he seemed completely normal. Other times it was obvious that he was stressed, out of it, as you may say, and distracted. I want to conclude that by saying that the game and the idea of the game is not a choice. It does exist, now that you know it exists. And it did exist before you knew it existed. That's, I think, maybe one of the hardest things to realize, and the hardest things for someone to accept, is that something has existed without your knowing its existence for your whole life. Well, you might think, well, you just said life. Wouldn't that mean the game is a game of life? No. Life implies living. Life implies your existence. The game, you don't have to play it. Just as you don't have to live life. You can take your own life. You can stop living. It's a choice. You can stop playing the game. All you need to do is think about it. This entire time, I have not been playing the game. I've been thinking about it. I've been out of it. I have not been playing. And there is a possibility that I do not ever play again. That is one of the scariest ideas about this philosophy. Being trapped outside of a game. Not able to play. Not able to be normal. And that's what contributed to Jay's psychotic break. But I will say, the more you learn about your game, the more that you feel your game exists, and the more that you are comfortable with this existence, the easier it will be to play. The easier it will be to feel. And the easier it will be to stay in it. While you might not realize you've been playing your game this whole time, you need not worry, because you have been this whole time. You need not change, and you need not fret, for this is only a philosophical idea. It's an idea that has no doubt been pondered and talked about and discussed among many people. And just because you were not aware of its existence does not mean that you need continue be aware, or continue thinking on it, pondering it, questioning it. You don't need to not play the game, and you don't need to play the game. That's your game. That's what encompasses the game. Your decision to play or to stay out, to sit on the sideline, if you will, and watch yourself. Watch yourself go about life. Think about what you do. Think about those who surround you, those who interact with you, and who you interact with. When you play, you don't think about those things. And in some sense, when you have thought about those things, you have unknowingly stopped playing. There's one more thing I'd like to say before wrapping up this audio recording. When I heard this philosophy, became worried and distraught. I became anxious and nervous that I had been missing out, that I'd been playing too much, and that I hadn't been thinking about my game. And then I realized that I wasn't happy when I wasn't playing. So I asked my friend Eli, and I said, "Do you like playing?" His answer was no. I feel much more comfortable when I'm out. I was blown away, astounded. My best friend was more comfortable not playing his game. I couldn't believe it. But as time went on, I realized that his behavior, our friendship, and almost everything about his personality pointed towards the fact that that statement was true. And I realized that that didn't change anything. That's who he was. That's who he is today. So I want to caution you that if you do take this seriously, and I'm not saying you should take it seriously, But if you do, please try to make sure you remember that this is an idea. For you, it may not exist, but as an idea, it sure as hell does. As a concept, it exists. You may choose to forget completely about this, and you will keep on playing. You can choose to stay out of it and delve into your own game. Experience your life as you live it, and analyze other people, interactions, questions, and so on. But I plead of you, do not take all that I have said too seriously, because ideas, when misused, can be harmful. And I do not want anyone experiencing what one of my friends has already experienced with this idea. Thank you very much for listening. I hope this talk shared a little bit about me and maybe helped you realize some things too. If not realize some things, made you think about yourself, made you think about your life, made you think about your game. Goodbye.